When did dinosaurs appear? Imagine standing on the edge of time, millions of years before human history even began, before cities, before civilizations, before mammals ever dared to dream of ruling the world. The earth trembles beneath your feet, volcanoes roar in the distance, and the air carries a heavy mix of heat and moisture. Suddenly, out of the dense green forest steps a creature unlike anything you have ever seen, its body balanced on two powerful legs, its tail swaying like a pendulum, its sharp eyes scanning for prey. This is not a scene from fantasy, but a glimpse into reality as it once was, the age when dinosaurs first appeared. The question, when did dinosaurs appear, is far more than a simple date in Earth's long timeline. To answer it, we must travel back across unimaginable spans of time, to an Earth so alien that even the continents were not yet arranged as we know them. Dinosaurs did not simply appear out of thin air. They were the result of a long chain of evolutionary changes that began with small, reptile-like ancestors in a world recovering from catastrophe. Their rise is a story of survival, adaptation, and dominance, stretching across 165 million years. But pinpointing their true beginning means diving deep into the Triassic period, an age that followed the largest mass extinction the planet had ever seen. It was a time when Earth's ecosystems were devastated, yet from the ruins, new life took root. Among that new life, humble creatures, small, fast, and unremarkable at first, would evolve into the rulers of the Mesozoic world. Dinosaurs have captured our imagination like no other prehistoric creatures. They've starred in blockbuster movies, inspired children's toys, and fueled scientific debates. Yet, behind all the fascination lies the burning curiosity. When exactly did they step into the spotlight of Earth's stage? Was it 250 million years ago? 230 million? Or earlier still, hidden in the fossil record, waiting to be discovered? To answer this, we must first explore the world that existed before them. What events cleared the stage for dinosaurs to emerge? What creatures were their ancestors? And what clues have scientists uncovered that allow us to trace their steps so precisely? This script will take you on that journey. From the fiery destruction of the Permian extinction to the dawn of the Triassic period, we will follow the evolutionary breadcrumbs that lead to the birth of dinosaurs. We'll uncover how they came to dominate the planet, what traits set them apart from other reptiles, and why their appearance was both inevitable and extraordinary. So, fasten your seatbelt. We're about to travel back more than 230 million years to the moment dinosaurs first appeared, an event that would forever change the story of life on Earth. To truly understand when dinosaurs appeared, we must first go back to a time just before their rise, a time when the Earth itself was on the brink of collapse. This was the end of the Permian period, about 252 million years ago, long before dinosaurs set foot on Earth. At that point, life was already thriving, but in very different forms. Giant amphibians lurked in swamps, reptile-like creatures known as synapsids roamed the land, and insects buzzed in lush forests. But then, something catastrophic happened. The Permian ended with what scientists call the Great Dying, the largest mass extinction event in Earth's history. Over 90% of marine species and about 70% of land species vanished in a geological blink. Oceans became toxic, skies darkened with volcanic gases, and ecosystems crumbled. Imagine a planet where most living things suddenly disappeared. The land was left barren, oceans nearly lifeless, and the future uncertain. Yet, this catastrophic event also cleared the way for new creatures to rise. When the Earth entered the Triassic period, around 252 million years ago, it was a world of recovery and rebirth. The continents were not scattered as they are today. Instead, they were joined together in one massive supercontinent known as Pangaea. This single landmass stretched from pole to pole, surrounded by a vast global ocean called Panthalassa. Across its center stretched arid deserts, while coastlines and river valleys held the promise of life. The Triassic world was hot, dry, and harsh. Rainforests were rare, and deserts covered much of the land. Volcanoes were still active, shaping the landscape, and the climate swung between extremes of heat and drought. Yet in this challenging environment, evolution worked its magic. Reptiles began to diversify, experimenting with new body shapes, new survival strategies, and new ecological roles. Among these early reptiles were the archosaurs, a group that would eventually give rise to dinosaurs, crocodiles, and birds. At first, archosaurs were just one set of creatures among many. They competed with therapsids, the mammal-like reptiles, and other survivors of the Permian extinction. For millions of years, there was no single dominant group. Instead, Earth was like a testing ground, a place where evolution was experimenting, waiting to see which lineage would thrive. Slowly but surely, the archosaurs began to stand out. Unlike many other reptiles, they had upright postures, meaning their legs were positioned under their bodies instead of sprawling to the sides like lizards. This gave them a huge advantage. They could move faster, conserve energy, and hunt or escape more effectively. In a hot and dry Triassic world, efficiency meant survival. The earliest creatures that looked like the ancestors of dinosaurs were small, lightweight, and agile. They were not the massive beasts we imagine today, but rather dog-sized or even chicken-sized reptiles darting through forests and open plains. These early forms, such as Nisosaurus, discovered in Tanzania and believed to be around 243 million years old, are thought to be some of the oldest known relatives of dinosaurs. Whether Nisosaurus was a true dinosaur or just a close cousin is still debated, but its existence proves that dinosaurs, or at least their direct ancestors, were beginning to emerge in the Middle Triassic. The stage was now set. Earth had recovered just enough from the Great Dying to give rise to new life. Archosaurs were taking advantage of the harsh climate, developing traits that would eventually turn them into dinosaurs. And though they were still small and unremarkable at this point, their evolutionary story had already begun. Dinosaurs had not yet conquered the world. In fact, they were still minor players compared to other reptiles. But they had arrived, quietly, almost invisibly, like sparks waiting to ignite into the roaring flames of the Mesozoic era. By the middle of the Triassic period, about 230 million years ago, the Earth had changed dramatically from the devastation of the Great Dying. Forests of ferns and conifers had spread again, rivers cut through the dry plains of Pangaea, and reptiles were diversifying into countless new forms. It was in this environment that the first unmistakable dinosaurs stepped into the world. The very earliest true dinosaurs were nothing like the massive, thundering giants we often picture. Instead, they were small, lightly built, and surprisingly quick. They lived in the shadows of other reptiles, blending into ecosystems dominated by crocodile-like archosaurs and mammal-like therapsids. Yet these little creatures carried the traits that would eventually allow their descendants to rule the Earth. One of the earliest known dinosaurs is Eoraptor, discovered in the fossil-rich Esquigualasto Formation in Argentina. Eoraptor lived around 231 million years ago and was only about a meter long. It walked on two legs, had sharp teeth for eating small animals, and was nimble enough to dart through vegetation in search of prey. Despite its modest size, Eoraptor holds a special place in history. Many paleontologists consider it a close representation of what the ancestor of all later dinosaurs might have looked like. Alongside Eoraptor lived Herrerasaurus, another early dinosaur from South America. Larger and more formidable than Eoraptor, Herrerasaurus grew up to 6 meters long and was a fierce predator. With long, grasping claws and powerful jaws, it likely hunted other reptiles in its environment. Herrerasaurus is sometimes considered one of the first large carnivorous dinosaurs, paving the way for the fearsome predators that would dominate later eras. What makes these creatures truly remarkable is not just their age, but their anatomy. Early dinosaurs like Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus had features that distinguished them from other reptiles. Their legs were placed directly under their bodies, giving them an upright stance. This made them faster and more efficient walkers and runners compared to the sprawling reptiles of their time. Their hips and limb structure also revealed a more advanced design, allowing for agility and endurance, qualities that would help dinosaurs thrive as both predators and prey. It's important to note that dinosaurs were not instantly dominant when they first appeared. For millions of years, they lived alongside other archosaurs that were often larger and more successful. In fact, in the late Triassic, crocodile-like reptiles, known as pseudosuchians, were the true rulers of the land. Some were massive predators, others armored plant-eaters, and still others adapted to aquatic environments. Dinosaurs, by comparison, were small and relatively few in number. Yet evolution often rewards patience. While crocodile relatives thrived in the swampy lowlands and rivers, dinosaurs adapted to more open and varied environments. Their lightweight bodies and efficient locomotion gave them an edge, especially in a climate that often swung between droughts and floods. Another important development during this time was the separation of dinosaurs into two major groups based on their hip structure. Saurischians, or lizard-hipped dinosaurs, which included future giants like the long-necked sauropods and terrifying predators like Tyrannosaurus rex. Ornithischians, or bird-hipped dinosaurs, which later gave rise to armored dinosaurs like Stegosaurus and herbivorous herds like Triceratops. In the Triassic, these divisions were only beginning to form, but the foundation was laid. Early saurischians such as Herosaurus and Eoraptor gave us a glimpse of the predators and omnivores to come, while the first ornithischians were small, plant-eating dinosaurs experimenting with new diets. By around 225 million years ago, dinosaurs had officially arrived. They were still far from the dominant creatures they would one day become, but their unique traits set them apart. They were survivors, experimenters, and innovators in a world still recovering from chaos. And soon, an even greater shift was coming, one that would tip the balance in their favor and open the door to their age of dominance. For now, though, the first true dinosaurs were simply small hunters and foragers, carving out a place in a crowded world. They were like sparks glowing faintly in the dark, waiting for the moment when they would ignite and light up the planet in the Mesozoic blaze. By the late Triassic period, around 225 to 201 million years ago, dinosaurs had already appeared on Earth. They were small, fast, and agile creatures, interesting but not yet dominant. At this time, the planet was still very much ruled by their archosaur cousins, particularly the crocodile-like reptiles called pseudosuchians. These formidable creatures occupied almost every niche, from massive land predators to armored plant-eaters. If you were to step into the late Triassic world, you would likely have thought that these crocodile relatives, not dinosaurs, were destined to control the future. But fate had a different plan. The Earth was heading toward another great catastrophe, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, one of the 5 major mass extinctions in Earth's history. About 201 million years ago, something, likely massive volcanic eruptions from the rifting of Pangaea, unleashed chaos across the planet. These eruptions spewed enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere, causing sudden climate shifts. The seas turned acidic, temperatures fluctuated wildly, and ecosystems collapsed under the strain. The result? Many dominant groups of reptiles, especially the powerful pseudosuchians, were wiped out. Once again, the Earth was reset, just as it had been at the end of the Permian. But this time, instead of archosaurs as a whole rising to power, it was a more specific group that took the opportunity: the dinosaurs. Why did dinosaurs survive, while so many others perished? The answer likely lies in their anatomy and adaptability. Dinosaurs' upright stance and efficient breathing systems gave them an edge in coping with environmental stress. Their lighter, more active bodies helped them move across varied terrains and climates. And perhaps most importantly, their diversity in size and diet allowed some species to survive even when food sources dwindled. In the aftermath of the extinction, dinosaurs were no longer overshadowed. With many of their competitors gone, they expanded into new ecological roles. Small, fast-running dinosaurs took over niches once held by other reptiles. Herbivorous dinosaurs grew larger and spread into vast herds, grazing on ferns and conifers. Carnivorous dinosaurs rose as apex predators, dominating landscapes that were suddenly wide open. By the time the Jurassic period dawned, the dinosaurs had firmly established themselves as the rulers of the land. They were no longer small sparks flickering in the shadows. They were flames that spread across the globe, lighting up the dawn of the Mesozoic era, often called the Age of Dinosaurs. The Triassic had been their testing ground, a harsh, unpredictable world where only the most adaptable survived. And dinosaurs, with their unique blend of agility, endurance, and resilience, proved they were built not just to endure, but to thrive. From this point forward, dinosaurs were unstoppable. Over the next 135 million years, they would diversify into countless forms: colossal long-necked sauropods, plated and armored herbivores, and fierce carnivores with jaws full of razor-sharp teeth. But it all began here, in the shadows of the late Triassic, when survival through extinction gave them the chance to rise. The question, when did dinosaurs appear, cannot be answered fully without acknowledging this critical turning point. They appeared as early as 243 million years ago in their earliest forms, and by 230 million years ago they were true dinosaurs like Eoraptor and Herosaurus. But it was only after the late Triassic extinction, around 201 million years ago, that dinosaurs truly stepped into the spotlight as the dominant rulers of Earth. The stage was now set for the Jurassic, a time when dinosaurs would not only survive but flourish, grow, and redefine the very face of life on land. The end of the Triassic marked the dawn of a new chapter in Earth's history, the Jurassic period, which began around 201 million years ago. If the Triassic had been the testing ground where dinosaurs first appeared and barely survived, then the Jurassic was the stage where they flourished, expanded, and claimed their place as rulers of the land. The extinction that ended the Triassic had cleared away most of their competitors. The once dominant crocodile-like pseudosuchians were gone, along with many marine reptiles and land-dwelling synapsids. What remained was a world of opportunity, vast landscapes filled with forests of conifers, cycads, and ferns, with fresh, ecological niches waiting to be filled. Dinosaurs seized that opportunity with both speed and ingenuity. During the Jurassic, dinosaurs diversified into extraordinary forms. Some became herbivorous giants, the sauropods, long-necked and long-tailed dinosaurs that grew to sizes never before seen in Earth's history. Imagine creatures like Brachiosaurus, with its towering neck stretching into the treetops, or Diplodocus, with a body so long it could sweep across a riverbank like a living bridge. These colossal herbivores formed massive herds, shaping ecosystems as they moved and grazed, just as elephants shape African savannas today. To counter these giants, evolution produced equally impressive predators. The theropods, a group of carnivorous dinosaurs, evolved into efficient hunters. Early Jurassic theropods, such as Dilophosaurus, displayed crests on their heads and grew to lengths of over 6 meters. They were swift, sharp-toothed, and deadly. Later in the Jurassic, even larger predators would arise, such as Allosaurus, which dominated the top of the food chain. But dinosaurs were not only about size and strength. The Jurassic period also saw remarkable experimentation in form and function. Small, nimble theropods darted through forests, some beginning to develop feathers, laying the foundation for the future evolution of birds. Ornithischian dinosaurs, the bird-hipped group, spread into new varieties of herbivores, including armored dinosaurs and herd-forming plant-eaters that could defend themselves in numbers. The environment of the Jurassic also played a role in this explosion of diversity. Pangaea, the great supercontinent, began to break apart. Rifts formed between land masses, opening new seas and creating varied climates. With continents slowly drifting apart, isolated environments encouraged new evolutionary paths. Dinosaurs adapted to deserts, coastlines, floodplains, and forests, spreading across every corner of the globe. What is fascinating is that dinosaurs were not the only creatures thriving in this time. The seas were filled with marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, while the skies were ruled by the pterosaurs, the first true flying vertebrates. Yet, on land, dinosaurs outcompete nearly every rival. Their unique posture, efficient breathing systems, and adaptability made them the undisputed kings of terrestrial ecosystems. The Jurassic explosion was more than just an increase in numbers. It was a creative burst of evolution. Dinosaurs took on forms so varied that they could occupy nearly every niche. From chicken-sized runners to the largest land animals to ever exist, their diversity was unparalleled. This era cemented them not just as survivors of the Triassic crisis, but as the masters of the Mesozoic world. By the end of the Jurassic, dinosaurs were deeply embedded in the story of life on Earth. They were no longer a new experiment of evolution, but the very foundation of ecosystems. Herbivores shaped landscapes, predators controlled populations, and the earliest feathered species hinted at future transformations. The Jurassic was, in many ways, the golden age of dinosaurs. But even greater wonders awaited in the next chapter, the Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs would reach their greatest variety and global dominance. Yet, as history has always shown, every rise eventually meets a fall. For now, though, in the lush forests and open plains of the Jurassic, dinosaurs stood unchallenged, their reigns stronger than ever before. The sparks of the Triassic had become roaring flames, illuminating the Earth in the Age of Giants. By the dawn of the Cretaceous period, about 145 million years ago, dinosaurs had already dominated Earth for over 80 million years. The Triassic had been their beginning, the Jurassic their golden rise, but the Cretaceous was their peak, a time when dinosaurs reached their greatest diversity, spread across every continent, and evolved into some of the most spectacular forms ever to walk the Earth. The world itself was changing. The supercontinent Pangaea had fully broken apart, giving rise to separate land masses that began to resemble the continents we know today. This continental drift created new coastlines, seas, and climates, which in turn shaped ecosystems. Vast inland seas split North America, while Europe became a series of islands. South America, Africa, and Asia hosted dense forests and wide floodplains. Each region fostered unique dinosaurs, leading to extraordinary diversity across the globe. One of the most remarkable features of the Cretaceous was the sheer variety of herbivorous dinosaurs. Giant sauropods still roamed, particularly in South America, where massive titans like Argentinosaurus grew to over 30 meters in length and may have weighed more than 70 tons, the largest land animals in history. But sauropods were not alone. The ornithischians, the bird-hipped dinosaurs, flourished as well. Herds of hadrosaurs, or duck-billed dinosaurs, grazed on vegetation. Ceratopsians, like the famous Triceratops, developed elaborate horns and frills, possibly for defense and display. Ankylosaurs appeared as living tanks, with armored backs and tail clubs strong enough to shatter bones. Stegosaurs declined, but their legacy paved the way for even more complex plant eaters. Predators, too, reached new heights. The theropods diversified into both small and massive forms. The apex predator of this era, Tyrannosaurus rex, emerged near the end of the Cretaceous in North America. Standing over 12 meters long, with a bite force stronger than any land animal before or since, T. rex became a symbol of prehistoric power. Yet it was not the only formidable carnivore. In South America, giants like Giganotosaurus and Mapusaurus rivaled or even exceeded T. rex in size. Other predators, such as Velociraptor and Deinonychus, were smaller but hunted with intelligence, sickle-shaped claws, and possibly in packs. Perhaps the most revolutionary development of the Cretaceous was the rise of feathered dinosaurs. Fossil discoveries, particularly from China, reveal that many theropods, including Velociraptor, were covered in feathers. These feathers may have started as insulation but later played roles in display and eventually flight. From these feathered dinosaurs, the first true birds emerged, bridging the gap between reptilian giants and the winged creatures that still soar today. The Cretaceous was not only a time of dinosaur diversity, but also of ecosystem complexity. Flowering plants, or angiosperms, appeared and rapidly spread, transforming landscapes. These plants provided new food sources for herbivores and reshaped diets and behaviors. Pollinators such as insects flourished alongside them, creating intricate webs of life that resembled modern ecosystems more than ever before. Dinosaurs, adaptable as always, fit seamlessly into this new world. For over 80 million years, dinosaurs thrived in the Cretaceous, ruling the land without rival. Yet beneath their success, the seeds of their downfall were quietly being sown. the Earth remained geologically restless. Volcanic eruptions released gases that altered climates, sea levels rose and fell, and ecosystems shifted. Dinosaurs adapted, as they always had, but an event was looming that no adaptation could overcome. Around 66 million years ago, near the end of the Cretaceous, disaster struck. A massive asteroid, about 10 kilometers wide, slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, creating the Chicxulub crater. The impact released energy greater than billions of nuclear bombs, sending shockwaves across the planet. Fires raged, tsunamis devastated coastlines, and debris blocked sunlight, plunging Earth into darkness. Temperatures plummeted, plants withered, and ecosystems collapsed in a matter of years. This catastrophic event marked the Cretaceous, Paleogene extinction, PG extinction, wiping out about 75% of all species on Earth. Among the countless victims were nearly all dinosaurs. The mighty T-Rex, the vast herds of Triceratops, the titanic Argentinosaurus, all vanished. Only a small group of feathered dinosaurs survived, evolving into the birds we know today. The age of dinosaurs, which had lasted for over 165 million years, was over, but their legacy was not erased. Every sparrow, eagle, and penguin alive today is a living descendant of those resilient survivors. In a way, dinosaurs never truly disappeared, they transformed. The Cretaceous stands as both the pinnacle of dinosaur evolution and the stage of their final tragedy. It reminds us that even the most powerful rulers of Earth are not immune to change, chance, and catastrophe. Dinosaurs had appeared in the shadows of the Triassic, flourished in the Jurassic, and reached their greatest triumphs in the Cretaceous. Yet, with one sudden strike from space, their reign ended, making way for a new chapter in Earth's story, the rise of mammals and, eventually, humans. When the asteroid struck at the end of the Cretaceous period, the world changed almost overnight. Forests burned, seas boiled with tsunamis, and the sky darkened under a thick veil of dust and debris. For months, perhaps even years, sunlight barely reached the surface of the Earth. Temperatures plummeted, plants struggled to survive, and ecosystems collapsed like a house of cards. The mighty age of dinosaurs came to a sudden and brutal close. Yet, while the extinction spelled the end for most dinosaur species, it was not the end of their story. In fact, the aftermath of the extinction is where their legacy truly begins. The vast herds of herbivores such as Triceratops and the terrifying predators like Tyrannosaurus rex were gone. But not all dinosaurs perished. A small group of feathered theropods, already experimenting with flight, managed to survive the catastrophe. These were the ancestors of today's birds. They were small, adaptable, and able to feed on seeds, insects, and other resources that persisted in the harsh post-impact world. Their survival meant that, in a sense, dinosaurs never truly disappeared. The loss of the great dinosaurs also reshaped Earth's ecosystems in dramatic ways. With dinosaurs gone, mammals, which had lived in the shadows for over 150 million years, suddenly found themselves with open opportunities. Before the extinction, mammals were mostly small, nocturnal, and limited in diversity. But once dinosaurs vanished, mammals began to expand into niches once dominated by the giants. Over millions of years, they grew larger, spread across continents, and evolved into an astonishing variety of forms, some herbivorous, some carnivorous, and some specialized for water or flight. Eventually, this evolutionary freedom would pave the way for the rise of primates and, much later, humans. But even in absence, dinosaurs continued to influence the course of life. Their disappearance shaped entire ecosystems by leaving behind ecological gaps. Plants that had evolved to survive grazing from massive herbivores now flourished unchecked, changing landscapes. Predatory niches once filled by theropods were taken over by large mammals like saber-toothed cats and later big cats, wolves, and bears. The planet was still recovering from their loss, and yet, in every corner of the biosphere, the shadow of dinosaurs remained. The fossil record tells us another important truth. Dinosaurs were not just rulers of their time, They were architects of Earth's history. Their dominance for over 165 million years allowed flowering plants, insects, and early mammals to co-evolve in unique ways. They shaped vegetation by grazing, impacted predator-prey dynamics, and even influenced the atmosphere by fueling vast cycles of life and death. Without dinosaurs, the world we know today would be unrecognizable. Their survival through birds also means their story continues all around us. Every time a sparrow hops along a city sidewalk, every time an eagle soars over mountains, and every time a penguin dives into icy waters, we are witnessing the living legacy of dinosaurs. Birds are not just distant relatives of dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs, carrying forward traits of their ancient ancestors. Hollow bones, feathers, and even nesting behaviors trace back to the Mesozoic. In a way, asking, when did dinosaurs appear, naturally leads to another question. Have they ever really disappeared? Because the truth is, they are still here, woven into the fabric of life. They may no longer be the towering giants that shook the earth, but they remain as survivors, adapted to new worlds and new challenges. The extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs was not the end of life, but a transition, one of many that mark Earth's history. Their disappearance opened doors for mammals and eventually humans. Their survival through birds kept their lineage alive, ensuring that the age of dinosaurs never fully ended. Dinosaurs appeared around 230 million years ago, but in a very real sense, their story continues to this day. Every chirp, every flight, every wing beat is a reminder that the reign of dinosaurs, though transformed, has never truly ceased. So, when did dinosaurs appear? The journey to answer that question has taken us across more than 230 million years of history. Their story is not a simple date, but a sweeping saga of survival, adaptation, and transformation. Dinosaurs first emerged in the Middle Triassic, around 243 to 231 million years ago, in the aftermath of Earth's greatest extinction. At first, they were small and insignificant, creatures like Eoraptor and Herosaurus, darting through the shadows of larger, more dominant reptiles. They were not kings yet, only sparks of possibility in a harsh, recovering world. By the late Triassic, disaster struck again. The Triassic, Jurassic extinction wiped away many competitors, leaving dinosaurs with the opportunity to rise. They seized it, spreading rapidly and taking control of ecosystems. With their upright stance, efficient lungs, and versatile bodies, dinosaurs became the new rulers of the land. In the Jurassic, they reached extraordinary heights. Towering sauropods shook the earth with their footsteps, while predators like Allosaurus prowled as apex hunters. Dinosaurs diversified, filled every ecological niche, and thrived as the supercontinent Pangaea broke apart. Their reign became global, stretching across forests, deserts, and coastlines. The Cretaceous was their peak. From the horned Triceratops to the armored Ankylosaurus, from the swift Velociraptor to the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, dinosaurs became more varied and magnificent than ever before. Flowering plants reshaped ecosystems, feathered theropods evolved into birds, and dinosaurs adapted to every corner of the planet. For over 165 million years, they were Earth's dominant rulers. But even the greatest reigns are vulnerable. Around 66 million years ago, fate intervened. A massive asteroid struck the Earth, triggering fires, tsunamis, and a global winter that the dinosaurs could not escape. In the blink of a geological eye, nearly all of them were gone. The age of dinosaurs ended, not with a slow decline, but with a catastrophic collapse. And yet, the story did not close there. A lineage of small, feathered dinosaurs survived, giving rise to the birds that still soar above us today. In every hawk circling the skies, in every robin singing at dawn, in every penguin diving beneath Antarctic ice, the spirit of the dinosaurs lives on. They never fully vanished. They evolved, adapted, and found new ways to thrive. Their disappearance also reshaped the world. Without dinosaurs dominating the land, mammals rose into the vacant niches. From them came primates, and from primates came humans. In a sense, We owe our very existence to the fall of the dinosaurs. Their rise made the world what it was, and their fall made the world what it became. So when we ask, when did dinosaurs appear? The answer is layered. They appeared around 230 million years ago, rose to dominance after the Triassic extinction, ruled for over 165 million years, and even after their supposed end, they remain with us as birds. Their reign was long, their impact immeasurable, and their legacy eternal. Dinosaurs remind us of the fragility and resilience of life. They teach us that dominance is never permanent, that even the mightiest creatures can fall, and that evolution always finds a way forward. From the first tiny Eoraptor to the mighty Tyrannosaurus, from the thunder of the Jurassic giants to the song of a bird at sunrise, dinosaurs have never truly left us. They appeared as sparks in a world of chaos, burned as flames across the ages, and still glow as embers in the life we see today. Their story is not just about the past. It is about life's ability to endure, transform, and inspire wonder across the ages. The dinosaurs appeared over 230 million years ago, but in a way, they are still here.